Well, hello. It's been a while since we were together, and I must admit, whenever I go into the office and look around, it seems so strange seeing all those empty offices. I certainly miss our time and opportunity to work together. I think only Bina's there been about every day. She might be the one person that's kind of got used to this idea of there being nobody there. But for the rest of us, certainly those of us who go in periodically, it's very strange going through the offices of DHQ, and I certainly miss everybody there. I particularly miss our opportunities on Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays to gather as a department, just to stop what we're doing partway through our day and have a chance to share some time of devotion. So perhaps this is overdue that I would share just a few thoughts with you this morning. The coronavirus, of course, is the thing on everyone's mind. I mean, every one of us, all around the world, are thinking of only one thing. And it's been interesting sort of observing, as well as people have put aside many of the conversations from before, many of the things that divide us, race, gender, sexuality, all these conversations that aren't really happening right now as we join together over the very common issue that we have, and that is COVID-19. And as you look at this COVID-19, this coronavirus, and try and make sense of it, there's only one way it really makes sense to me, and that's in the spiritual realm. No, it's not something that was sent by God. I believe it's a consequence of the fall. I do believe it's something that God has allowed to happen simply because we chose sin over him in the Garden of Eden. However, I don't think it's his desire anymore. It was his desire for the Black Plague to come in the medieval times, and influenza in more recent times. This is simply the latest terrible illness. It's just the one that we're facing. So to make sense of this, where can God be in the middle of all these things? I'm doing right now a study on the book of Revelation, and I'm particularly interested in the Spirit's message to the churches. And in the Spirit's message to the church of Ephesus, the Ephesian church is encouraged to return to its first love. It wander away from its first love. Return to your first love. I think that's what I'm seeing is happening. I think that's where God is showing himself in the midst of all these things. For instance, I had an opportunity to talk to a young man that I'd never met, didn't know at all. Happens to be the son of a friend, and this friend said, my son is searching. He grew up in the church. He's been away from the church for a while. He's now on the front lines of this coronavirus, and he's trying to make sense of it, and the only way it makes sense is to bring God into the equation. So could you talk to him? And of course I did. I called up this young man, and we had a wonderful conversation, very encouraging conversation actually. And in it, he talked about some of his job, some of his responsibility. Only the day before I spoke to him, he had to order a refrigerated truck that would be used to put bodies in while they were able to get things together and make arrangements for these funerals and whatever else. And sitting on the front lines and seeing these things, he started to really ponder. And so he started to think of the things of God and really wanted to talk to somebody about spirituality and about faith. And there's a young man who's recommitting himself to Christ, wants to go back to a church, to be part of a fellowship that will be encouraging to that end. And what I'm seeing there is him returning to his first love. A dear friend of mine, in fact, I would go as far as to say probably my best friend from my days in England. He'd wandered away from the church, very, very fine trombone player, incredible trombone player. And he got into the contesting band world. There were a few other things that had occurred that probably were a bit of a slight on the core that he went to there. And as a result of that, he's married, he's raised his children, and as far as I know, he's raised them outside of the church. There's no church attendance that I'm aware of, even though he grew up in a Christian home. And when I talk to him, we reminisce about old times, but rarely talk about things spiritual. He'll avoid that conversation. But today, just today, as I got online, looked on Facebook, he put in a post, and he said, I'm so grateful for the fact that my COVID-19 symptoms are now going away. I didn't know he had the COVID-19 symptoms. And he just expressed briefly his appreciation for the doctors and the nurses and those that cared for him. And then he posted a video, and this is what caught my attention, because it went back to his days as a salvationist. And the melody he played, he did one of those clever things where he was playing every part, and then we got the different windows that they bring them together. But the song that he played is the song "Be Still for the Presence of the Lord." And I love this melody, and this is what it says: "Be still for the presence of the Lord, the Holy One is here. Come bow before him now with reverence and fear. In him no sin is found. We stand on holy ground. Be still for the presence of the Lord, the Holy One is here." And then the third verse says this: "Be still, for the power of the Lord is moving in this place. He comes to cleanse and heal, to minister his grace. No work too hard for him. In faith, receive from him. Be still, for the power of the Lord is moving in this place." This place, of course, can be wherever you commune with God and with the Holy Spirit. And perhaps, therefore, for us, the returning to our first love is just being still, just being in the presence of God. We become so busy in this world and so busy in our lives. There are so many things that are going on. But one thing we can do right now is to take this time and be still and come into the presence of the Lord. Is God in the middle of the coronavirus? Friends, he's always working in people's lives. And no matter what's going on in this world, it doesn't interrupt any of the work that God does. But perhaps what the coronavirus is doing is making us more receptive to what God is doing. Be encouraged in the midst of this difficult time, and take time and be still. And friends, hopefully sooner rather than later, we'll be back together, working and doing as we love to do, serving God through the Salvation Army. God bless you, friends.